What's going on? It's your main man, Rick the Dawn. Hey, now, obviously, you're here because you want to talk a little bit about tomorrow. Tomorrow is huge. There's a lot of great things taking place. You got a double eviction. You also have a new twist that will separate the game. I'm excited just like you are, and I cannot wait to get there. But before we do, have a little discussion about what we can expect tomorrow. Let's quickly just say, or let me say, I really appreciate the amazing people that continue to support the channel. You all are showing out on my behalf. Look, I'm an underdog. You see my views. You see my views compared to other channels. So when you support me, you're supporting, us, the leftovers. You know what I mean? So I have to say thank you for that. This episode is brought to you by bluespace.com, brokenheartshirts.com, and the Really Hood podcast. Those are some of my businesses. Check them out. Now, let's go ahead and start off with what I've heard in the Big Brother streets. Now, I've heard that through the grapevine, Kaya will keep POV nominations, or I should say, he will not use his POV and keep the eviction nominations the same. And if that's the case, Terrence and Indy will remain on the block tomorrow, and one of those individuals will go home. I have to ask this question because it must be asked. If he keeps the POV, if he doesn't use his POV and keeps the nominations the same, why does he do that, right? I'm not sure if that information is public yet. I know the live feeds are buzzing. People are gaining information by the second. And me not looking at the live feeds, I still have some wiggle room to speculate. I think he does that for one reason and one reason only, and that is to save Alyssa. Now, we know what happened in Wednesday's episode in which Taylor wins a trip to London, and Alyssa, unbeknownst to the entire house, makes a really incredible gameplay move. And I mean that I'm being sarcastic there. She makes a bad gameplay move, to be very blatant about it. She makes a bad gameplay move and takes the London trip away from Taylor. And if that wasn't bad enough, she leaves Taylor with a punishment. And this causes so much drama in the house that, even Alyssa starts to reflect upon that decision while she's lying in the bed with Kyle. And they're starting to realize that this was not the right move. Yeah, I'm not sure that Alyssa was thinking about, thinking on this one. And it wouldn't surprise me if Kyle is kind of going back and reverting back to some of his earlier sentiments in which he was talking about splitting up from Alyssa, maybe distancing himself from Alyssa. I think if he was already thinking about it then, right now has to be a good time to do so. Kyle does this to keep Alyssa safe. Absolutely. There's no way he does it for any other reason. Perhaps he's doing it to keep Taylor from blowing up or getting upset, or making Taylor get more blood on her hands. But I think the damage has already been done, and I don't think that Kyle really cares as much as I don't think he cares so much about what Taylor does or doesn't do, or blood on her hand, or what have you. I think he more or less cares about Alyssa's game, especially now. If he uses that POV, he probably doesn't know for sure. He might see Alyssa go on the block. I mean, this is the perfect time for her to do that. Everybody's aiming at Alyssa, that being Monty, Turner, and Taylor. So it wouldn't be that surprising or shocking, especially considering that Alyssa is not a part of the Leftovers Alliance. So if that is the case, if Kyle does keep the nominations the same, and Indy and Terrence are the two individuals on the block come eviction night, who goes home? Let me know what you think. In the comment section, who do you think goes home between Indy or Terrence? Me personally, it's not even a question. I think Indy goes home tomorrow. I started off, early this week thinking that Terrence had already dug himself a deep grave because of some of his gameplay maneuvers and choices, and some of his just, his anger. He's been pretty chauvinistic in a lot of ways. Even at the start of Wednesday's episode, he told everyone no hugs, right? He told Alyssa that, if I'm not mistaken. So I think, at the beginning of the week, I thought to myself, there's no way that Terrence can salvage this terrible gameplay he's put forth, especially being one of the only people to vouch and vote for Daniel. I just thought there was no way for him to stay safe this week. But some of the chatter in Wednesday's episode lead me to believe that this might be Indy's week to go home. She's also pretty abrasive. She has one of those personalities that's like pretty scary, like your mean auntie kind of deals going on. And also, you have to wonder if Taylor is starting to get into the other player's ear and saying, hey, I want Alyssa gone, but because nominations are the same, then the next best option is to take out her ride or die. Let's take out a number from her side. Indy's not in the Leftovers Alliance. So I think that that is what happens tomorrow. The only way that doesn't happen is if Kyle does some kind of switcheroo where he sides with Alyssa over the leftovers alliance, because that could happen where, hey, everybody thinks that Indy's going to go home, but then Alyssa convinces Kyle, and maybe even Kyle convinces Joseph to vote Terrence out instead, making them a little stronger on the other side of the house. But if that were to happen, that'd just be terrible gameplay on Kyle's part. And I think he's a little smarter than that, which is why I believe that Indy is going to be signing out tomorrow. That's just my personal opinion. Next, Terrence will be a huge enemy for Taylor. Look, Taylor was in or is in a lose-lose situation. No matter what happens, I think that Taylor's going to have a problem moving forward in the game. You have Indy. If Indy stays in the house, she's certainly going to align herself with Alyssa even more so than she already has to take out Taylor, because Alyssa has to know that that move was a terrible move, and it's going to ultimately become an issue or a showdown between Alyssa and Taylor. And as such, I think that Indy is going to join forces with Alyssa, as we ought expect, and they're going to take shots at Taylor. Now, you also have to consider or remember that Indy nor Alyssa know that Taylor is as well connected as she is. The Leftovers Alliance is still pretty much under wraps, and I don't think anybody knows, that being Alyssa and Indy, know that Taylor has these other options. I don't think they know that. So certainly, I think they would continue to target Taylor. Now, if Indy leaves the house and she's the first person to go to jury, that's still a problem because she's very feisty, and she's the kind of person that will, argue you down until you see things her way. And when those other members start to pile up in the jury house, I can see Indy going to bat to bring down Taylor at all costs, unless she shows up herself. But if Taylor's in the finals, there's no way that Indy's going to give her vote. She's not going to say good game, great gameplay. It's not happening. Now, if we look on the other side of the evictions, we see that Terrence is there. Now, if Terrence stays in the house, same thing. Terrence has been visibly disrespectful to Taylor. He's been open about his dislike or distaste for Taylor. So if he stays in the house, he's not going to be like, "Whoo, that was close." No, he's going to see Taylor putting him on the block as a act of war, right? And he's going to do whatever he can to galvanize the votes and the people to align themselves against Taylor. If nothing else, Taylor should maybe stick to her guns and get Terrence out, because I don't see Terrence being as big of a problem as Indy would be in the jury house. That's just my personal opinion. So it's a lose-lose for her. Now, after the Indy and Terrence eviction, I assume, because I'm not sure, CBS has been very tight-lipped on this, but I assume after that eviction takes place, we will begin the double eviction. And this is going to be very fun to watch. I can just see it now. 2 4 hours, right? And then the house will be split in half. This is going to be so fun to watch without question. And I have to go ahead and put it out there. Let's go ahead and just do this. Why not? Let's talk about who will most likely be the 2 people to be eliminated from the house. I would love to know what you think. I mean, I would love to, but I'm going to give you what I think. I think that the 2 players in trouble tomorrow are Taylor and Monty. Taylor will not be able to protect herself because she's the exiting HOH. And Taylor is still the perceived threat in the house. So if by chance Taylor ends up on the wrong side of the house, things can get really, really bad really fast. Because imagine if Taylor's on the side of the house with Indy, Alyssa, and Jasmine. Can you imagine that? Because that is very possible. If that happens, problem. Okay, there's no salvaging Taylor's game at this point. That would be catastrophic. And I also say Monty because Monty is very closely aligned according to perception. All right, perception rules. People think that Monty and Taylor are aligned at the hip. So I would argue that he would probably also be in trouble if the numbers don't favor Monty. I think he could be in trouble. So I would argue that those 2 players have the most to lose tomorrow. I don't know if Turner's going to be in trouble. I don't see Jasmine being in trouble. I don't see, well, Alyssa could be, but we'll get to that in just a second. I don't see Kyle being in trouble. I don't see it yet. I don't see Joseph having problems tomorrow. I see the threats having problems. And 2 of those threats happen to be Taylor and Monty. Now, that's who I think will go home. We will find out. But let me talk about who I would like to see go home. I think this is something that I wanted to just get out. I would love to see Alyssa go home. Why? Because Alyssa hasn't really been fun to watch for me personally. Anytime I see Alyssa, she's right next to Kyle, kind of like just just following them around. It feels like Alyssa follows Kyle around in some ways. Every time I see Alyssa, she's in the bed, she's sleeping, she's in a bedroom, she's in a bed setting. These things for me are not fun to watch. She's usually just kind of with Indy, just doing random stuff. So if she were to go home, it wouldn't bother me much. I would say, hey, all right, let's proceed because it's not really much that she brings to the game, in my personal opinion. I would also like to see Michael go home, and here's why: because Michael is an amazing player, and I know that sounds crazy, but to see the orchestration of how they can actually bring down this behemoth would be fun to watch. And also, it would be fun to see what happens once he's out the game, because right now Michael is head and shoulders the person who will win this game as it stands today right now. And if he were to be evicted tomorrow, that will leave such a gaping hole in the game that it will be like, and it'll be incredible to see players battling for his position, because right now, without question, Michael's going to win this game. Also, I just think that Michael, he's making it look so easy. Michael is making this game look so easy. He's almost making the game of Big Brother look kind of silly. So he's a true super fan. When someone says that they're a super fan, you have to take that with a grain of salt. When Daniel said it, I said I'll wait and see. But you can tell that Michael is a super fan. He's like the Don of the game. He doesn't really get his hands too dirty, even though it's insane. So yes, I would like to see Alyssa go home because I think the game would become more interesting. Also, the fact that Kyle would be scorned, he would at that point want to avenge Alyssa. He will probably say it in this diary room confessions: I have to get this person back, get this person back. That would be fun to watch because I am of the belief that Kyle is as strong as a Monty or a Michael. It just hasn't materialized yet. And something like Alyssa going home could be just what is needed to bring that out. And of course, I would like to see Michael go home only because that would make the game more interesting. But let's face it, I don't see any scenario where Michael goes home. Okay. So what do you think? Do you think that, who do you think is going to go home tomorrow? Name two people in the comment section, because let's face it, my channel is still so small that I'm going to see all the comments. So when you throw your nominations out there, I will be responding because I love responding to the amazing people who watch my videos. And hey, I'll be here tomorrow to see what happens. Thank you for tuning in with your main man, Rick Dawn. And just in case you're not sure, this is a reshoot because the last one was pretty choppy. All right, peace.